Arses. The arse seems doomed to spend its life in the dark as the beggar among body parts. It's the real idiot of the family. However, it would be a wonder if this black sheep of the body did not have its own opinion about everything that takes place in higher regions, similar to the D-classed, who often have the most sober gaze on people in the upper strata. If the head were to enter into conversation just once with its antipode, the latter would first stick out its tongue, if it had one, as in the Enlightenment film of the Rotzeguts, Was heißt hier Liebe? What do you mean by love? The arse would say to the higher spheres, I find that our relationship is shitty. The arse is the plebeian, the grassroots democrat, and the cosmopolitan among the parts of the body. In a word, the elementary cynical organ. It provides the solid material basis. It is at home on toilets all over the world. The International of Arses is the only worldwide organisation that has no statutes, ideology or dues. Its solidarity cannot be shaken. The arse crosses all borders playfully, unlike the head, to which borders and possessions mean a lot. Without any objection, it squats on this or that chair. To an unspoiled arse, the difference between a throne and a kitchen stool, a bench and a holy chair is not particularly impressive. Now and again it can also sit on the ground. The only thing it dislikes is standing when it is tired. This proclivity for the elementary and the fundamental predisposes the arse especially to philosophy. It probably registers the nuances, but it would not think of making a fuss like vain heads do when they knock themselves bloody over the occupation of seats. It never loses sight of what really underlies it, the firm ground. In an erotic sense, too, the arse often shows itself to be both sensitive and superior. It does not pretend to be choosier than is necessary. Even then, it is the one that easily raises itself above imagined borders and exclusivities. When the famous Arletty was accused of having had sexual relations with members of the German occupation forces, her answer is said to have been, "My heart is French, but my backside is international." As a representative of the cynical principle per se, able to survive anywhere, reduction to the essentials, the arse can hardly be brought under government control, although it cannot be denied that many an arsehole has given off nationalistic tones, often beaten, kicked and pinched. The arse has a worldview from below, plebeian, popular, realistic. Millennia of bad treatment have not passed over it without leaving a mark. They have trained it to be a materialist, albeit one with a dialectical tendency, which assumes that things are shitty but not hopeless. Nothing can cause as much bitterness as the feeling of not being welcome. Only the undertone of fascination that can be heard through so much maltreatment gives the oppressed a secret feeling of power, something about which silence is so stubbornly maintained, even though it cannot be evaded. It must have a strong power over the spirits. The best energies are often hidden behind the strongest swear words. It is as if all the maltreated backsides were waiting for their hour of revenge in the near future, when everything will again be falling flat on its arse. The feeling for time is generally one of the special strengths of arses, for very early on they develop a feeling for what has to be done immediately, for what can be postponed, and for what a well-padded behind can wait out patiently until doomsday. That is really a political art that today is called timing, and that has its roots in a praxis. Even children's arses learn, namely, to perform what has to be at the right time, Not too early, not too late. The arse triumphs secretly, conscious that without it nothing works. Being there precedes being such and such. First existence, then qualities. First reality, then good and evil, above and below. Thus, arses are, in addition to their dialectical materialist inclinations, also the first existentialists. They practice the existential dialectic in advance. Should one decide in favour of what has to be, in any case, or does one choose to revolt against the unavoidable? Even those who decide to let things take their course have decided, as Sartre says, not to decide. Freedom surrenders to necessity. One can, however, also decide against it, not of course against the fact that one must, but against the fact that the must can do anything at all with one. One can struggle against it and hold back what has to be. Then one becomes, following Camus, the person in revolt. Nobody must, says Lessing's Nathan. And the popular saying adds, dying and shitting are the only things one must do. Well, that remains the cynical a priori. The arse is thus, of all bodily organs, the one closest to the dialectical relation of freedom and necessity. It is no accident that psychoanalysis, a thoroughly cynical-inspired discipline, devotes subtle investigations to it, and names a fundamental anthropological stage, the anal phase, after the experiences and vicissitudes of the arse. Its themes are can and cannot, must and must not, have and hold back. The principle of achievement is contained in it. To understand the arse, would be therefore the best preparatory study for philosophy, the somatic propedeutic. How many constipated theories we would be spared. Again, we must meet up with Diogenes. He was the first European philosopher who, instead of employing a lot of words in the Athenian market, performed his urgent business. Naturalia non sunt turpia. In nature, he says, we find nothing about which we would have to be ashamed. Real bestiality and perverted spirits are found where the arrogance of morality and the imbroglio of culture begin. The heads, however, did not want to recognise that this was an early climax of reason, a moment in which philosophy had found a balance with the principle of nature. For a moment it was beyond good and evil, and beyond turning up its nose. Respectable thinkers, on the other hand, insist on their view. According to them, it can only have been a joke or a provocative dirty trick. They refuse to conjecture that there could be a truth-producing meaning in such a manifestation.